What's up, everybody? This is your guy, Captain Prophet Wolf from Once Okay Philly chapter, and here I have my guy, Steve Solo, aka Frosty. So
How's it going?
it's good to have you here. Wow,
Good to be here.
you are
Thanks for
finally
having me
here,
on.
man. You are finally here, man. We talked about this a while back, and now you're here. Well,
Yeah.
timing is everything.
Yeah. Calendar's tough, man. It's just tough. You barely get a break these days.
Yeah. I hear that, man. I definitely hear that, but I know you've been doing well, man. I've been seeing you every now and then, on social media, doing your thing. The last time I saw you was actually at OTP. That was my first time coming back to paintball. I took a couple months off, of course, but seeing you there was amazing. A lot of catching up. Yeah.
Yeah, that was I think I was there supporting the Eastern Paintball League, the EPL event going on that day, I believe. So,
yeah, and I didn't even know that was going on. I was just coming just for a regular walk one day. To see all these people. What's going on? So, yeah,
it's one of the bigger. It's one of the bigger speedball tournaments in not just the region, but actually the country. As it turns out, I didn't realize that. One of my good friends, Big E from Misfit Toys / Misfit Militia, is the one kind of behind that now, and so Diana, we're one of the big sponsors for that particular event. So when I can, I try and at least show up for at least part of the day because we have a lot of our sponsor teams also playing that event. So.
Got you. Well, it's good to have you on here, man. I'm glad you're on here. I know tonight's topic is very deep, and I believe it's, don't quote me on this, if I'm right, relationship management?
Yes.
Or is it the other way around, management relationships?
I mean, it's column A, column B, depending on how you want to look at it. So
yeah. So let me ask you this: why do you think this topic is so important in not just the MagFed community, but the paintball world in general?
I would say primarily because while we all want to think we can just get everything done by ourselves, we're all that like lone wolf, so to speak, like operator that can do it all.
Yeah.
The reality of it is that even when people win MVPs and stuff like that, there's generally a team behind that person. It may not be like their immediate teammates, like you for One Shot One Kill, or me formerly for T-Stock, or even my Diana teams behind me if I were to win one. It's the people surrounding it. Nobody gets things done by themselves, whether it's in the sport, like actually playing it, or outside it doing stuff that's related to sponsors, promotion of events, trying to produce an event. Stuff takes a team behind you. As the saying goes, it takes a village. That's pretty accurate even within paintball.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think having a team is the best thing that I could have ever done, or anyone could have done, because you already said it, but I just want to add on to that. Being a team player is everything. When you're going up against another team who's pretty good, who have talent, skills, who been in the sport for years, as a vet, 20 years, 15 years, longer than that, who knows? And it makes you wonder and think, how much growth a team has came. I've seen teams, been together for 20 years, 15 years, and they're still going on strong. Some fall off and some, stick with it. But I always look at a team that you start to build chemistry. You start to build a relationship with people, and you're not just thinking about yourself, but you're thinking about the next person. And so I think having a team is probably the best thing I ever done, and you've probably ever done yourself.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people would say that. I'm sorry, let me back that up even a little bit. A lot of people who have been on teams will probably say that if they didn't have a team at some point in especially the early stages of them getting involved in the sport, they may not have stuck with it. Don't get me wrong, it's great to go out and play rec ball days and just go shoot at walk-ons, but to go the distance good for paintball, not just talking time, but even accomplishments, you kind of need that grounding within a social structure around you. You need
Yeah.
that social element that's going to attract you to go play these different events. Now, whether that's like one of your friends' bachelor parties, such as my friend Panda this weekend, we're going out and we'll get to shoot at him at some point this coming weekend. Um, or, hey, there's this big event the other side of the country, you want to go? An individual person probably isn't going to do that trip by themselves. Either
Yeah.
they have friends that want to do the entire trip with them, or they know some friends out on that side of the country that are like, "Hey, man, come play this event. Come play with us." That social draw is extremely powerful within paintball, and that going back to relationship management, you have to create those relationships, foster them, and continue to grow them if
Yeah.
you intend on making paintball a part of your life for more than just somebody's bachelor party or little Timmy's birthday party. So,
Mm, interesting. Um, well, let me ask you this, Frost. You know,
mhm.
you've been around for years. You know, what are some of the experiences that you had to face? You know, on a team that you face on and off the field that
Oh, there's
challenged
always
you,
going to be
actually, that challenged you.
there's always going to be personality conflicts. You're not going to mesh 100% with everybody on a team, um,
Yeah.
especially the larger a team gets. I mean, the more chance of like, okay, you're not necessarily going to be buddy buddy with this particular person, but hey, you are with that person, and maybe there's the movie trope of like a love triangle, so to speak. There's three of you on this team, for example, out of
Yeah.
everybody. Two of you are really good friends, but maybe the other guy is friends with the guy that you don't necessarily get along with a whole lot. And you keep it civil because, hey, you're on a team, you're all there working together, but you're not going in for a beer after the game with that particular person. Um,
Yeah.
and that on occasion can draw a little bit of conflict and ire. It's like, oh, how can you be friends with this guy, X, Y, Z kind of thing. But that's no different than life. I mean, whether it's your coworkers or just your social circle in general, you're going to have relationships in your life that aren't completely um, smooth. Best way to put it.
Yeah.
Everything's going to have its bumps. Just like any relationship you find yourself in, it's going to have bumps. And how you choose to navigate those
Mm,
conflicts, those interpersonal conflicts, says a lot about what you ultimately want and
yeah.
what you're willing to do to get there. So,
You know, I always believe that when you're on a team, you're always going to face a challenge, and so I go by a quote. You know, this quote that I go by is it go like this. Make sure I'm saying it all properly right. Um, when you go through the storm, you're not going through a storm alone. You're going through a storm with either your brother or your sister. So it's up to you, you know, how that come out. But know that if you come out on the other side, I guarantee you that best version will come out of you and the person beside you.
no, yeah, those
You
who
know,
weather a storm together generally come out not just better themselves, but generally closer. So,
yeah. Do you believe
trauma,
that?
calls it trauma bonding.
Do you believe that that you know many people who are on a team like that they realize that a lot of times they're going to be tested. You know, even if that's a challenge or you know testing their character, testing who they are. You know, because I I I have seen people, and I'm speaking from my own experience, um, on a team who uh, I've seen people who had a name, right? For example, I'm just gonna use any name. You know, let's say their name is the Joker. I'm just gonna use that, you know, as a name, the Joker. Now we all know the Joker is a guy who laughs, jokes around. Even if
Mhm.
things is real evil and bad, he still laughs, jokes around, right? And so,
Mhm.
what if a person, takes that character so serious and so deep that when someone gets injured or hurt, or they're going to they're going through some type of life experience, whatever, and that character just comes out of them, like that joke character just come out of them, and they started teasing that person. Just for just as an example, how do people deal with that? How is that something that people would deal with on the team?
So everyone's going to deal with that kind of situation of somebody. Essentially, it sounds like you're describing somebody who's just being really inappropriate at a bad time, laughing at others' potential significant misfortune, cracking jokes on it. That person's probably got some other stuff going on in their own lives. I want to say that they
Yeah,
find delight in other people's misfortune. If we're talking about a teammate, that's something I would. I'm going to assume most teams have some sort of leadership structure, whether it's one person at the top or a group of people at the top. Um, that kind of issue, I would say, hey, that's a big enough issue to take to, especially if it's a repeat thing, take it to like your team leadership and be like, hey, I have a concern about this type of behavior on our team because it reflects poorly on our team. Other players outside seeing this, potential prospects to our team, seeing or hearing about this kind of behavior from our members and us tolerating. And while, yeah, that's an interpersonal relationship issue, it becomes a larger team issue. And I mean, if you really want to go full macrocosm on it, I mean, it's a community issue. I like to hope that the paintball community will root out the bad ones, but that doesn't always happen, unfortunately.
yeah,
And with that in mind, you kind of have to take it what as far as you can as an individual uh, to hey, don't want that person near me. I'm good. I don't want to necessarily associate with them. Um, Again, going back to the team aspect, team leadership sees that. Maybe you're not the only one to have said something about that. Maybe it's other members on the team feeling the same way, approaching leadership about that. Team leadership should be looking at that pretty critically and either having a conversation with this fictitious joker, for your example, or just that player in general, and going, hey, people are kind of not okay with how you're behaving around these kinds of situations. And they should have
yeah,
a conversation about it. Now, if this Joker, in your example, is a mature adult. They're open to conversation about it, and if not, then I mean that's going to be a bit of a self-correcting problem, in my as I like to put it. Either leadership would be like, okay, this person is not willing to work with us, and therefore is not willing to be a good teammate to the
yeah,
others, and they are respectfully shown the door. Or that person be like, oh, you guys are a bunch of bitches. I mean, and again, self-correcting problem. So goes back to what I was saying about teams and the social structure you build around yourself as a paintball player do a lot to keep you within the community, um,
yeah.
as well as push the people who shouldn't be there out. Um, Unfortunately, that can also backfire in some very high school cliche, cliquish uh, ways that I'm sure we all have seen at some point in our lives, where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's the cool kids versus the not so cool kids, or the populars, etc. That kind of shit. So there's always the chance of that within a community, but so yeah, that's
Yeah.
as far as your example goes.
Because I always believe that when a person acts out like that, um, right? Not only is a team watching, but you have owners, you have different field players, different field management. You have
Mhm.
people that a lot of times come out to different fields who are, top dogs, or they come from all over, and they're like they're watching all that. They're seeing if you are who you say you are. I
Oh,
always tell
absolutely.
people, yeah, and I always tell people, you have to be careful how you carry yourself. You always got to be aware of your surroundings, be aware of what you're doing, because you never know who's watching you.
No, that is actually 100% correct. And to put my Dizana sponsor hat on, for example, the I have a team, let's say, approaches me, hey, we're interested in being sponsored by your company, yada yada yada. Great.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have a personal relationship with this team. Let's say I'm not as familiar with them. Maybe I've heard of them, maybe I haven't.
Yeah.
I, based on the relationships that I have grown over the years, have a pretty solid pulse for the different areas of the country through friendships that I have with people who are either on or lead other teams, other folks within the paintball industry at this point. Believe me, I never thought I'd say those words. I never
Yeah.
expected to be this side of the sponsorship table. But again, as a sponsor, I check in on who these teams are. How do they behave? What's the personalities like here? How do they
Yeah.
behave on field as well as off field? Because that matters too. I don't give a shit if somebody's smoking weed, but I give a shit if somebody's starting fights in the parking lot,
Yeah.
throwing paintballs at the hotels they're staying in. To use a very recent example, following this past weekend's NXL event. Um, we most sponsors, I will say most, because I cannot speak for everybody, and I do not speak for everybody. We will kind of do a background check, as it were, using our personal connections with people that maybe have some relationship or are aware of whoever's approaching us to work with us, kind of thing. So, and yeah, I've definitely um, declined to work with certain individuals and certain people based on reputations that they themselves burned. Um,
Yeah.
and uh, I've told them as much. I don't really shy away from the truth. Some of them have responded understandingly and respectfully and like, hey, no, totally get it. Maybe we can work on something in the future. I'm like, okay, absolutely. Let us know how we can help you out. And then others have responded not so great and threatened various things against myself, my family in one case, and Dizana as an entity. And I'm just like, okay, cool, great. I was respectful of you, and that's your response. Yeah, you kind of just proving my point, my man. So
Yeah.
yeah, poor behavior within this community. Everyone wants to think, oh, nobody's going to hear about something. Nah, you'd be surprised. People hear shit. People talk, and it's very, very easy to hear the dirt on other teams. Um, and yeah, you kind of have to make decisions around what you hear because, granted, gossip is gossip, and people are always going to gossip. So you do your best to try to filter out what bias you're potentially hearing. You're hearing it from a friend of a friend or a friend whose sister heard something. Like you kind of have to learn to root through that stuff and find what the core situations are, or personalities, or just the actual reputation and actions of a person or a team. So takes a lot of work for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I agree with everything you say. And just to piggyback off of that, you know, see when I first started out playing paintball, I had my dirt, not gonna lie. I started my dirt, whatever, just doing whatever I want on the field. Wasn't following the rules on the field. And so that taught me a valid lesson, and I'm gonna explain why. And like I said earlier, you never know who's watching you, and always surround yourself with positive people, with people that have the same mindset and wants to grow. Because people I was around, they didn't want to grow. Their plan, and I'm just say that, was to fuck shit up. Do whatever on the field, cheat if possible. And so when I seen that, you know, at first it's like, oh, I don't care, but now it's like, you know what, I kind of do want to, like, not even kind of, but I want to, make a name for myself one day, on this field. Like, I don't want to just keep doing what I'm doing. It's already bad enough, people look at us a certain way. So what's the purpose of doing this? And I told myself, this was back in 2020. This is around COVID when COVID started and COVID was still going on, and everyone was just not getting out the house. But I told myself, I said, man, if we just all decide to just do great things and come together as one community, I said we can do a lot of changes. And so now that I'm a couple years in, man, I see the growth inside of me because I haven't really been paying much attention about that. But when I get a chance to sit back and think about my past and how much I grew from that, it amazed me to tell other people my story. And I always tell people you got to surround yourself with someone that you think and that got your back, that want you to grow, want you to win, want you to just keep going in life, period. Because if you surround yourself with someone who don't want that for you, man, you're gonna have a hard time with them. And I seen that. And so I tell people all the time, try to do the right things, work on yourself, work on your character, because you have a purpose in life. We all have a purpose in life. So what we do and how we do it, someone is watching us. Someone is always watching to see if you're going to be true to who you are, or to see if you're going to do what's wrong, so they can have something to talk about. Oh man, this guy is this guy is that, and that is something that I always looked at. I said, man, because I can never forget this situation I went through a few years back. I remember one of my teammates was about to do some dumb shit. This is before I even had a team. We were just starting to recruit people, or just starting to really talk about a team. And I remember, the conversation that me and this person had, and I'll never forget. The ref was right there, so he was like listening to everything that was going on, and it's like just seeing that moment, how he heard everything, and was like, he points to the side and said, listen, man, you seem like you're a good dude, and you seem like you want to do what's right. You should be careful who you're surrounding yourself with, because it seemed like they want to bring you down as much as they want to go down. And for him to tell me that opened my eyes to realize, say, dang, I didn't look like that before. And so when he told me this, and I'm gonna just quote what he said, if you see what he's doing, and if someone else sees what he's doing, and see that you're with that person, they're gonna look at you as if you're the person that's doing the same thing he's doing. And that right there was the key for me. So once that person broke that down to me, I said, man, I never looked at it that way before, and that changed my perspective in life. And so not only does that change my perspective in paintball, but that changes my perspective in off the field and life itself. And so that's when the name just grew on me. I started to become this whole different person. I had to cut ties with people. I had to create my own destiny, in this sport. I had to start surrounding myself with people that want more than just paintball. And now that I'm here, like a blessing. I can't even say like it's not a blessing. So it's a huge blessing.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, and it's talking about it is tough. Just as tough, if not tougher, probably tougher, is recognizing that, as you said, the people that surrounded you they didn't necessarily have the same goals that you did. And it probably stung for you then, maybe even a little bit now, to separate from that group, because that was home, that was comfortable for you.
Yeah.
And to remove yourself from that comfort zone takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of emotional and mental fortitude, because those are relationships that you built and fostered and grew, and you came to a point where this is as far as this is going to grow. And recognize that if you yourself want to keep growing, you need to uproot and move elsewhere to continue to do so. So I've experienced something similar. So as I mentioned, my previous team that I was on for 10 years was T-Stock, And TikTok's been around since the mid 2000s, and still is around, still playing games. Just on this past weekend at Pinnacle playing for the Castle Jam event.
Okay.
And I definitely was not the greatest teammate in the early years. Kind of took a little bit of a talking to by one of my good friends on the team to go, hey, you're kind of being a shipper. It's like, oh, shit, you're right. And like a little bit in introspection and okay, I want to be a better teammate. And then that eventually turned into I want to do more. So I sought out responsibility on the team and became the social media manager for the team. And then that later grew into me working sponsorship relationships from the team to sponsors, either reaching out, managing existing ones, or just exploring new options to help benefit the team.
Yeah.
And did that for a few years, and then COVID comes around. I had at that point been attending many more events just by myself, whether they were on the team's calendar or not, and going to those events. I started to stand out uh, quite a bit more than my teammates because I did not have kids, I didn't have a family, wife, none of that stuff. But I had a good enough paying job where I could travel across the country and go play a MagFed event called Dominion 3 or go to Michigan to go play Living Legends because Ryan Sexton, who at the time from GI Sports, asked me, hey, you want to come XO for me for one of my Legions? And then I got propped up on that side of the event. So I started to stand out. And COVID comes around. I'm trying to keep our social media effort alive because most paintball fields, especially in the early months, shut down completely. Events were canceled. I was supposed to, at the time, command Dreaded Legends down in Myrtle Beach at Black Ops. But here living in North Jersey, I wasn't comfortable trying to recruit teams to travel elsewhere and create a potential hotspot event at the time. And regardless of how people feel about COVID, hotspots, masks, all that shit, I don't give a shit what people's personal opinions are. I did not want a hand in people getting sick potentially because I wanted them to go play paintball. And that probably damaged a relationship or two for me because I could not in good conscience do that. And yeah, I mean, that happens. And during that same period of time, I was, as I said, trying to keep our social media going, keep the social media not feeling like the Frosty show, as it was referred to on a couple of occasions. And I was doing player spotlights, spotlighting other members of the team, asking them to like doing this team member this week, asking, gave them a standard Q&A, asking about their paintball experience, led into what do we have them do? A gear bag tour. It was meant to be pretty short. And after a while, we started working through the teams and people were really slow on getting me stuff. And so I kind of pushed them. And I was met with significant resistance and some comments. And I was like, and I just got to the point where I'm like, I think I'm done here because I realized that I want to do more. And while I was happy doing stuff for members of the team, it wasn't necessarily necessary for them because they didn't want to do the same things I wanted to do. And it took me a good minute, even after I left, to kind of come to that realization. And so I planned my departure for the end of June of 2020 and made it, or rather, 4th of July, my Independence Day, I had a little bit of dramatic flair to it, and left TikTok. And I'm still friends with a number of the guys on the team. They were sponsored by Dizana for a while afterwards once we stood up the scenario sponsorship program. But it stung. It absolutely stung, leaving 10 years of relationships in a way, and leaving the purity of a team, knowing that like, hey, I went to like Canada with these guys to play at PRZ multiple times. We would go down to Fulda. We went all over. We did do a yearly travel game. I didn't have that. I didn't have that immediate group. And it very quickly smacked me in the face And I use the word smack because it literally was a smack from one of my best friends that was like, no, you're fine. You're going to be fine because look at who your friend circle is. And I had built up this circle of friends, even locally, not just across the country, of people that I can go show up to any game and I have a table to set my gear bag down and run with a group of people that I knew. And that came through just interacting with other people within the community. By playing for other people when I was out playing by myself or with TSOC, working with these other commanders across the country, locally, that built up relationships with these people and garnered a sense of respect and loyalty to the point where today, if I were to take on a command, I have a short list of people that I would call and be like, hey, you want to help me run this game? Can you help me get bodies for this game? And I would say they almost always lean yes for that kind of thing. And that takes a long time to build up. So, I mean, I'm talking about exiting a team, the difficulty with that, having just accidentally, in a way, built this network of people that I, to this day, still talk to almost on a weekly basis, the vast majority of them. Some of them became sponsored teams when Dizana stood up our scenario sponsorship program. These are the same people that I would probably call and go, hey, tell me about this team that I asked about sponsorship for us. Tell me about it. So that set of relationships that you build, not just with your team, which is absolutely still important, but outside the team, making friends with the person who's shooting at you potentially, that shit matters like incredibly. Especially if you want to advance within this paintball community. You can't live inside a little walled garden of your team. You have to reach out. You have to extend that hand, walk over to the other camps and go, hey, I'm so-and-so. Nice to meet you. You guys playing the other side? Tell me where you guys are from. Start that awkward conversation because that's going to stick out to them. I'm not saying don't come over and act like a tool is the best way I can say it. Like you're automatically trying to be something. No, just try to get to know people. That's all it is. And that is such a powerful tool within our community that it takes a lot of people a long time to get and even fewer to actually execute upon. So my long-winded Alex.
Well, I want to ask you a question, Frost, because I don't want to lose my train of thought. So I don't know if you are a DC fan of the Flash. I take it you are. No.
So
sort of.
The CW Flash, I think Grant Gustin is a fantastic actor. I hate his rendition of Flash. He makes him a baby back bitch. I can't stand it. I know the Flash was a much softer character in general. I'm much more of a Batman guy for DC. But yeah, I know like my logo. I've gotten the Flash as well as the Avengers. That all definitely came into my head as I was trying. I went, people are gonna think these things. So, but yeah, you're not the only one to have brought that up.
All right, because my reason of asking this is so the Flash, he goes back into time and he wants to know his mother. He wants to change the past that has happened to him, right? Not saying that his future isn't good, because his future is great, it's amazing, but it's like he still thinks about his past. Like he met all these great people in his future. He's one of the biggest heroes, where he's at, all kind of stuff, blase, right? So when he goes back to his past and he sees his mother and everything, he's happy than he ever was. It's like he's repairing a relationship that he never had with his mother,
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason I'm saying is because when I hear your conversation that I heard, if you could go back in time and change one thing, would you do it? And the reason why I ask, because even though everything is going good for you in your future, you're meeting people, you're connecting with them, you're talking to them on a regular basis, you know, you're doing more than you ever expected to do in your future. But if you can go back in your past and change one thing and make it way better, would you go back and build, or would you go back and repair those relationships that you lost?
So there's definitely a number of things that could have gone much better that have occurred in my life.
Yeah,
Not just paintball, talking life stuff here.
yeah,
That I've had a long time to analyze and kind of go, "Ooh, I could have done that better." You know, those 11:30 at night, 2 in the morning kind of thoughts, like, "Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that could have gone better." You just have to relive it.
yeah,
Um, it's going to sound like a cop out, but the answer is no. You want to like, change a damn thing. And the reason being is that it's those experiences that I went through that probably absolutely sucked. That there's definitely some regret still lingering to some degree. That I didn't handle something better, didn't say the right thing, said the worst thing, um, didn't pursue the repairs of a relationship, didn't pursue a relationship in some cases. Um, all that stuff, all of those events, those experiences and stuff have led me to today. And to want to change those would probably potentially, and I mean, to go back to the Flash reference, the Flashpoint, you change the smallest thing and it changes everything going forward. You've just now deprived yourself of that life experience that informed later decisions. And it's
yeah,
not, you're never just going to change one thing. You end up changing a whole chain of things because of that experience. People really, everyone has regrets, but people really need to value the experiences that those situations that you regret did impart to you, because that allows you to stay informed in similar situations going forward that maybe you would have blundered if you didn't do it before. So, um, no, I honestly wouldn't change a thing at this point. I'm quite happy with where I am. So,
it's probably up to here, you know, and I want to, and the reason why I said it because anyone who's watching this podcast or will watch it tonight, watch it tomorrow, watch it whenever they watch it, you know, I want them to understand that, you know, it's a reason why things happen to you. You know, you're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. You know, a lot of people are stuck in their past because, you know, they either have guilt in their past, they even messed up so many times, they wish they can take everything back and start over again. Um, you know, they have so many numerous reasons of why they want to go back to their past, and the fact that you broke it down the way you did, you know, I want them to to think about that, you know, because it's not worth it. You know, I had to beat myself up so many times to realize, like, man, it's not worth it. You know, even if I wanted, even if God gave me a chance to go back and do something all over again, I wouldn't change it. And just speaking from my life perspective, I lost my father about 8 years ago, and I remember on my other podcast I had with Coyote Force. You know, he asked me this question. He was like, "If you could see your father again and go back in the past, would you?" And that was like the hardest question I've ever answered. And unfortunately, I said no. I said because if I go back, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I would be someone else, and I'd probably be worse. So I said no. I said I understand that, you know, I miss my father. I love this man with all my heart. You know, I would do anything to see him again, but I can't. Because the person I am now, the person that I have become, is more greater than myself and him. It's for everyone to see. You know, for me to reach as many as people as possible with my inspiration, with my motivation, things I do in my life in paintball. So no, I wouldn't change it for the world. I would definitely move forward. because when I have kids, I will teach my kids this, and hope one day that they take heed to what I say to them, and so they can see what I saw at their age. So yeah, I wouldn't change it.
We are very much the sum total of our experiences, and if you were to take away an experience, you cheapen who you end up being in the end. That's just my take on it, at least. But yeah, and yeah, I mean that's a tough thing to say, not wanting to take more time with your kid after having lost them. That's tough. That's tough shit, and all of us have parents, whether adoptive or biological.
Yeah,
That we're all going to have to experience something very similar at some point in our lives, and it sucks. So,
I agree. Frost, I have two more questions for you before I let you go.
absolutely.
My next question, I want to talk actually about uh, being a general, being a commander on the field. Why it's so important. I see people wanting to do that. I want to see people, get out of their comfort zone and actually try to lead people. Why do I think that's important? I believe that that's important because when you're a leader, you're not just leading a paintball team, you're leading people. So anything that you tell them, they're gonna listen. They're gonna see if you know your shit, or you know what you're doing, or they're just trying to pick your brain. And so, I want to hear your perspective on that. I want to hear you talk more about, what it feels like to be a general. How do you become a general? What are some of the things that you need to know when being a commander?
So, I'm going to answer this from a couple different perspectives. So it's going to be a long-winded answer, but I think it'll be relatively useful. So, you are right that the people who you're leading will listen to you. However, those people need to be invested in the same thing you're invested in. So how do you get them to invest in that? You have to give them some sense of ownership. Um, so you as the commander, you whether you're in the field or the CP. So I'll back up a little bit. Two types of commanders generally. You have one that's the CP commander and one that's the field commander. Just like you have two types of XOs, or at least you should. You have an XO who's the CP XO, or an XO who is the on-field lead. Um, I'm of the belief that if you are in one thing, your XO needs to be the other. You guys need to be two sides of the same coin. If you have two CP commanders, SEO XO, you're kind of lacking on the field side, and you really need to make sure you recruit field leaders as a result of that. If you're both field people, now your CP is lacking. And there are some games out there that have a mechanic where only the commander and the XO can receive the missions. So this is now creating a strain and a potential delay where if you do not have your commander or XO in the CP to be issued the mission, then your team's getting their shit late. So again, my advice is to if you're a CP commander, make sure you have a strong field XO, and vice versa. If you're a field commander, make sure you have a very strong CP XO. Now, yeah, as long as that rule where like, hey, the commander of the XO needs to receive the mission isn't in play, you might be able to augment and cover that. I don't want to say weakness necessarily, but that focus by recruiting people who that is their specialty. That's what's happened to me. I do pretty damn well in the CP. People have told me it's like playing chess against me for some reason. I don't agree, but hey, it's whatever. I just organize people like more like Yahtzee pieces than chess pieces because you kind of throw them at each other. But it's funny because there is a perception within the paintball community that I always win. Fun fact: there's never been a game where I've been the commander or the XO that I've won. I've lost every single time.
Wow.
The reason why people have the perception that I win all the time is actually because of when I've been asked to, hey, can you run our CP for us? And so in a way, I'm like shadow commanding because I'm directing the commander and the XO, hey, this is what you need to be doing. And it worked out in the past. I've done this for a number of my friends. I've done this for some of the bigger games in the country. And it's not, again, not just me by myself. That kind of effort takes a pretty substantial group of like-minded people. My group of people that I always bring in for that kind of stuff is the group Cypher Scenario Consulting. They are my co-producers for the Collapse events, and they're wonderful human beings. They're also generally almost all of them are the allied command staff for the Skirmish Big 3 events. So used to moving a lot of bodies using a command structure and the implementation of field leaders. So leadership, how do you get people to do what you need them to do when you need them to do it? How do you get them to stay on the field? You need to eliminate, to get them to stay on the field, you need to eliminate as many things as possible that takes them off the field. So how can you do that? You have water available in the CP. Maybe you have a forward staging area set up with some canopies and some additional netting to have these guys set up. Hey, you can drop your kit in here to come back off the field, but not go all the way back to staging. This is where you have your paint, maybe extra air, snacks, that kind of thing. You do your best to facilitate keeping them engaged with the game as long as possible. Good example of this, our game, The Collapse. We have a netted off CP. However, separate to that, not on top of it, because CP needs its kind of quiet time too, and time to focus and not have everybody trying to reach in there for stuff all the time. Separate to that, we have for the players on both sides, 10 by 20 setup with netting, and we provide water and trash bags because we want to keep the field clean. People clean up after yourselves. I don't know how often I have to tell people that. Clean up after yourselves in a game, whether it's in staging or out on the field. Clean up. But eliminate the need for them to come off the field. The Collapse, we make it very clear that it does not benefit either team to have teams coming off in significant waves off the field because we don't stop. It's a straight 6-hour game and there's no lunch break. There's no switching of sides. So certain games like that, you want to keep your people on the field as long as possible because when you start having manpower dips, you can't accomplish things on the field. Now, to accomplish things on the field, it's not just the commander or XO. Like that's one person out there and you have potentially dozens of acres to cover. You need to, in your initial planning and recruitment efforts, identify who you can get that is a competent field commander. By field commander, I mean, hey, I'm going to give you this area of the field and you're going to be responsible for it. And I'm going to give you the teams that are going to work for you and you work for me. So you kind of create a branched command structures with you at the top and your XO. And then down from you, you have like field commanders, and down from them, they have teams. It's a generally common military strategy to divide a field into like 3 lanes. And for those who are familiar, I once upon a time was an army officer. That's like basic shit. You divide the field into different areas of operations, AOs, lanes, whatever you want to call it. And by the whole idea of divide and conquer, it really is effective. You put an effective field leader who is going to be your eyes, ears, and mouthpiece in that area for leadership, and they are as invested in you, as invested as you are in the game, they'll go through hell and high water to accomplish whatever you're throwing at. And you give them teams that they've interacted with before that are capable, they will also do the same. So that's where, again, going back to relationships matter. If I were asked to command an event, I have a pretty short list of who my field commanders are that I'm going to be like, hey, you in on this? I'd like you to run a group kind of thing. They say yes or no, and I'm like, okay, cool. I need you to start reaching out to teams who you are comfortable working with that you think would be interested in coming to this game. And that way it's not just you or your XO doing all of the recruiting. You have to get that buy-in from leaders within the community that you have built relationships with.
Yeah.
Now, somebody you haven't built a relationship with, this is a prime opportunity for you to reach out to that person and go, hey, I'm commanding this event. I've really wanted to work with you for a long time. Would you be interested in coming out and playing for me? Because I am just impressed, yada, yada, yada. You can butter them up, but don't be dishonest about it, is what I would say. Try and be as genuine as possible. Because you'd be amazed at what that can accomplish. That gesture of just mutual respect. And coming from now the producer standpoint, in this current day and age, production really does. By production, I mean like producers of the event, whether that's field owners or independent producers like myself. We really do partner with the commanders and XOs to help promote the event, because promoters and producers, when they're picking the commanders, generally not the XOs, but the commanders, we're looking at personalities. Like who's this person's ties within the paintball community? Can they recruit people? Are they respected enough? Will people come play for them? That kind of stuff is looked at. And to go back to what you said, somebody's always watching. So another reason why like people like me start doing social background checks on people, like going, hey, how's he as a commander? Do you think? And even for potentially a new commander, which I started with for the first collapse, I had Brian Thaxton from Creek Fest, and everybody knows Teddy Bear. And everybody loves to hate on Teddy because everything bounces off the damn head. Oh, stop shooting at his head. But anyway, they had never commanded before. And I had approached both of them very early on in our production process and gone, hey, would you guys like to do this? Because I think you both have the capability to lead a game. And trying to encourage them, and I didn't bullshit at all. I fully believe they could do it. Thaxton, the last Living Dead game in 2019, while I was in the XO for the red team and running the CP over there, Thaxton was not necessarily the XO, but he was my counterpart in the blue CP playing chess on the map board. And I knew what he was capable of. And I'm like, yeah, I think it'd be great to do this. Teddy, I played with and against for many years at this point. He is a fantastic field commander. He can motivate the people around him. He can push lanes. He stays positive as much as possible, because sometimes it sucks getting your bell rung by 20,000 rounds coming at your head because it doesn't break. But hey, you're new commanders. I'd like you to do it. Production, going to those people, using those relationships, and encouraging these people to step outside their comfort zone, because it very much is stepping inside their comfort zone. Nobody just steps up to a command role and goes, oh, I love this. No, everybody's nerves are wrecked for like 3 weeks leading up to it. Me as a first-time lead producer for the first collapse game, that game's December of 2020. What was it? 2021, and I was having anxiety nightmares about producing that game in May when I was at Living Legends. So that there's always anxiety. There's always cold feet and nerves for any level of a game. Producers, especially if they're kind of newer to it. Now I'm okay, I think. Producers, if they're newer to it, commanders, their first times, and commanders even that are seasoned and have had a number of games under their belt. There's always that anxiety. Will people show up to play for me? Kind of a little bit of an imposter syndrome thing. So all these people are trying to get people to travel, spend their hard-earned money, which is kind of tough these days, which is fair. I mean, everyone's budgets are getting tighter. You have to convince people to spend for you to come to an event. If it's a travel one, that's even tougher. If it's local, it's a little bit easier, but you're still asking people to spend. Now, if they were already planning on attending that game, all the better. You just gave them probably a reason to come play for you. But to convince people to do something that wasn't previously on their calendar or expected to be, that's the hard ask. So So yes, very long-winded answer on how do you get people to play for you. And it's really just get them invested in what the goal is in the mission.
Yeah.
Utilize your relationships with them and their relationships with others to help recruit for your event. And just keep in mind, it's in both command's interest and the producer's interest to have as much of a fair and balanced and fun game as possible. Everyone wants to win, yes. But when you spawn trap the other team into the other spawn for the entirety of the game, that's not a fun game. That's not a fun game as an attacker because it's not a challenge. And it's not a fun game getting that done to you because it's like, well, shit, why did I just spend this money? And then that potentially damages relationships going forward in all directions. So, yeah, it's in the best interest of everybody to have those fun, balanced games. That's not a complete stomp. So,
Wow, that was a lot of gems dropping right there.
a lot of information there. Sorry, I got feelings, man.
No, I was listen. I'm listening to every penny of it. So, yeah, I definitely agree with everything you say. It's very important to really build relationships when it comes to coming general. Um, Unfortunately, I didn't make it to one of my guys from the Ones with K chapters, other chapters. He shout out to my guy Ace, my guy Ace. He was the one who was a general at Dark Ops. Unfortunately, I was in Atlanta that weekend, so I couldn't come out. But someone like that, who's general, has different relationships with other people, and so that's a prime example of what I basically what you actually mentioned of all. So yeah, I agree with everything you say. That's very much right, correct. So last question, Frosty, before I wrap this up. Anyone who's watching this podcast, what kind of encouragement, what kind of inspiration could you give them if you saw them in person? If they came up to you, a beginner or someone who's just starting to get their feet wet in the sport, and they see you all the time, but they just now opening up to you to, I don't know, just trying to work their way up. How you did?
My pathing was strange. I'm not gonna lie. Like I would not have expected to be on kind of the industry side of stuff now. I didn't necessarily think I'd be producing events. Like TSOC, while I was on TSOC, especially in the earlier years, we did scenario productions, and a number of them were very successful, regarded very highly because we sought out to produce the games we wish we could play. And that was the suckiest part about it is like we would produce a game like we wish we could have played. And kind of running into that a little bit with the collapse, it's like, oh yeah, as we're writing, I'm like, oh, it's so cool. Fuck. I want to play that, but we can't because we're running the game. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I know that's kind of a trope and probably overused in certain circles. But in order to grow, and this doesn't apply just to only paintball, this applies to a lot of things.
Get comfortable being
uncomfortable, etc. You need to get outside your comfort zone and put yourself out there. Put yourself out there is such a broad statement. I recognize that, but you want to be a commander for events. Start stepping up. Get loud. Get vocal. Hey, there's a mission that needs to be done. Let's get bodies. You need to be an on-field motivator at a start point to start moving towards like a command role in the future. And it's not going to happen fast. You need to accept that. And there's probably going to be some egos in the way of you doing that. And how you negotiate around those egos is going to say a lot about how people will start regarding you and considering when talking about like, oh, I need on-field leaders. You don't necessarily need to be abrasive to be a good on-field leader. You don't need to be abrasive in general. You can get through just about all of paintball by just being a nice person. You could. Like I get like some people like building up their like fictitious character around whatever their theme may be. But at the core, that person is still a person and they're putting on a stage act, more or less, to keep up appearances. That's what I mean by sometimes you may have to get around some egos to get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And egos exist at all levels of paintball, all the way to the top. I guarantee there's plenty of ego involved in NXL, for example. And that's understandable. The people who play NXL, who run NXL, put it on the whole works. Yeah, they have egos because they've earned their way up doing it. And yeah, there probably is a little bit of an era of my shit don't stink, and that some of it's earned. But you're going to have to learn to deal with people who think that way. And figuring that out, I can't tell you how to do because it is such a situational, instantaneous thing that you can't map for.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine back in the day, he was a Marine, always used to say, Semper Gumby, always flexible. Don't be so rigid in your thinking and your approach that you are refusing to bend to the situation that you're encountering. And don't think you can just strong arm your way and bulldoze through a wall of whatever you're trying to deal with. It doesn't work in every circumstance. And if you do it in the wrong circumstance, it's going to backfire. It's going to be backfiring bad. Paintball community does a pretty good job of lifting up. I'm going to borrow something Hanu, who does the whole Legend series events, Living Legends, Endless, Dreaded, Bones and Ashes. Something he once said to me is paintball community does a really good job of lifting up those that they go, yes, this is the person. And sometimes somebody kind of forces their way up there too that probably shouldn't be there, and it will take a little bit of time before that person kind of like, drifts off the radar because they end up being a shit human being and everybody was right to begin with, and cool, great. There's a couple of examples within the paintball community that have probably, everyone probably can think of some people that have kind of fallen into that category, but you can also absolutely think of the people who have been lifted up by the community and gone, yeah, we like this person, we're going to follow this person. Good example of that, and I know this is slightly opinionated, but one of my very good friends, Desi Johnson, he is a hell of a motivator on field. He's a hell of a motivator off field, social media. He does everything he can to lift others up. Very rarely does he even try it for himself. He actually kind of gets a little bashful and shy and doesn't want to take the spotlight, but we constantly thrust him into it because he is a super legit dude. That is the best way to describe it. He is the dude. And he's gotten his reputation, rightfully so, for being a cool dude. I'm throwing dude a lot because that's the definition of Desi, dude. So that's an example of somebody that the community has lifted up and gone, yeah, we like this dude. We want to see him more. There's you can throw a dart at a whole bunch of others because there's plenty of outstanding leadership within this community that the community itself has lifted up and gone, yeah, we want more of this. So I would say, yeah, put yourself out there, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, but also look at who the community is lifting up and kind of see how did they get there? Spoiler, almost none of them were ever by brute force. They didn't go, oh, I'm going to be something, and suddenly there was something. You can't force your way into this shit. You just can't. It does not work, and the community will end up rejecting you, and you will have wasted a lot of time, energy, effort, relationship, credibility, all of it. So be patient, get comfortable being uncomfortable, put yourself out there, look for people to emulate, and why.
I love
a lot of shit.
I love it all. I love it all. But the most important thing is get comfortable being uncomfortable. I love that. I actually put that in my notes. Actually, I just did that. So, yeah.
I definitely am not the person that quote. I've heard it 1,000 times across a bunch of other stuff. I probably have some NCO back in when I was going through early commissioning program that probably smacked me in the back of the head and said that. So it's been around. I'm not the origin. Don't quote me on that one.
Frosty, man, you are the man. You are the man. And man, I'm so glad that we got a chance to do a podcast like this together. I definitely want to run this back with a part 2. I don't know when. I know I'm back in class next Monday, so looking forward to getting my graduation, getting my graduating actually in August. So that's my main
What are you doing
focus
for?
right now. Actually in school for my biblical studies associate's degree. Then
Okay.
after that, I'll be going for my bachelor's degree in human service and hopefully a master's. So we'll see. But
Shit,
one
man.
day,
Good shit.
one day at a time. Though I'm, taking my time right now.
Progress does not necessarily need to go fast to be progress. Just keep that in mind.
So, yeah, so I'm pretty much good with that. But right now, I'm locked in. I'm focused. I definitely see myself actually doing a lot more than I expected. So just keeping up this good work.
Great stuff on you. I don't have evenings anymore.
Hey man, it was good having you in my podcast, man. I definitely want to run this back with you. Where can people find you if they want to, look you up or reach out to you? If you feel comfortable doing the social media thing,
Yeah, absolutely. So easy socials. Facebook, you can find me Steve Solo. It'll have my red, white, and blue kind of F flash looking logo. What is it? Instagram. It's Frosty _ PB. I don't have a Twitter. I might start streaming Twitch. It's Frosty PB on there. I think there might be an underscore. I don't remember. Dizana stuff. If you are looking for anything custom soft goods, jerseys, we do far more than just jerseys, as some people are recently learning. But we did just launch a bunch of stuff in preparation for the whole Ion event. But jerseys, joggers, dry fit tech tees, tank tops. We also do shorts now. Surprise. Headbands. We print microfibers in house. We can do Velcro patches, especially if it's by volume. I don't recommend anything less than 50 personally, just because cost is going up everywhere, folks. Getting unfortunate sign of the times. But if you ever want any of that stuff, you can always just reach out directly on the DizanaSports.com website using the contact us feature. And you can just mention, hey, looking to work with Steve Solo, and they'll patch you through to me via email. You can also reach out on Dizana Sports Facebook page or Instagram. That will get to me. I do see that stuff. Can I do a cheap plug about this real quick? So actually tilt the camera a little bit here. There we go. So to my left, screen right, is the Collapse 3. I know it's a little bit tilted here. I only have the digital banner right now, but Collapse 3 is a open class scenario event. It's not just MagFed. That will occur on, what is the date now? Yeah, December 2nd. Sorry, the dates are always shifting on me. First Saturday in December. It's a one-day event, straight 6 hours. It is old school in the sense that the scenario narrative is what drives a lot of the purpose of the game. We, as a production company, which is myself, Cypher Scenario Consulting, as well as Solstice Law, who are outstanding refs. If you've ever gotten to play an event that they've officiated. We all produce that game. We all come from various backgrounds. We have a lot of experience playing some of the best games of scenario paintball that there has been in the last 20-something years. And we've done a lot to build a game story that is very engaging. There's something for just about everybody for this kind of game. If you just want to come shoot at people and fight over flags, there's absolutely that stuff. If you want to deal with like props and stuff, I think last year we had over 400 drop props on the field that any individual player at any point could have just interacted with and used that to interact with our role players that we have roaming the field like NPCs in a video game. That we, prior to the game, drop dossiers about, hey, this is who you're going to see out there, and this is what they've done, and maybe you figure out what they're interested in based on what the props are that you're seeing. And maybe they're willing to trade for stuff that they know, maybe stuff that they have that might help your team benefit. So there's that stuff. And then if you really want to get into the story, the narrative of the game, there's a whole lot of shit there for you. So yeah, check it out. It's December 2nd. You can go to oxcc.com to register. Just go to the events tab there. For anybody who does attend the Collapse 3, The following day, I do run a MagFed meetup event. To back up to that real quick. First strikes are okay for this game, but they are event first strikes, so you do have to purchase them for the event. So next day, however, those who attend the collapse, if you're more operator, you can still come and play for free the next day using whatever event paint you have left over, but you at least get a registration fee waived when you present your player ID from the collapse. Then the MagFed meetup that I run the next day, we start messing with some of the props that were left over from the game. Maybe we'll launch the foam cannon off again this year. We'll see. And you get free entry for the MagFed meetup, and it is a bring your own first strike thing the Sunday after the event. So that can be a completely free day for a MagFed player who has a bunch of first strikes and not a whole lot of faces to shoot at. So highly encourage you to check that out as well. But other than that, I think that's the end of my plugs.
Wow, that was good. You should be one of them, one of those radio guys. I forget what you call them, but yeah, something like that. But no, man, definitely love you, man. Definitely love it. I actually want to go there. I've been looking to go to more events this year, so yeah, I will definitely be there for sure. I know this is an event coming up in May, which is 0 hour. I will be attending that.
I will too. I actually get to play that. What side you playing on?
Yeah.
What side you playing?
Blue. My blue. Oh, don't tell me you're red. Don't tell me you're green.
Oh yeah, I'm old school back then. I had to play with Kill.
Hey, I still love you anyway.
And I get to play, so I get to sling first strikes for that one. So that's the other thing, folks. When you start doing the kind of shit I do these days, you play less and less. It's tough to get out and play because you have commitments you make and you end up sacrificing your play time for it. But then there are certain times where you go, no, fuck that, I'm playing, and 0 hour is absolutely one of those games where I get to play. So
okay. Well, yeah, I'm on the blue squad, but I'll be showing love to the red team. So I'll definitely be showing love, man. I know a couple guys over there. So yeah, I look forward to seeing a lot of people there. Honestly, I really do. It's going to be a nice, good challenge.
I believe Reg has broken over 400, so it's gonna be a brawl. That's a hell of a field. It's very long. It's very narrow. I'm interested to see how they implement the third faction, which I believe is the Assassin's Alliance, if I'm not mistaken, based on what Blackout was telling me. But yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one. It's gonna be a hell of a game.
Yeah, I'm interested too, but I'm just gonna wait to see what happens. I'm not gonna do anything, say anything. So we'll see.
But never played any of the previous ones,
right? No, first time. It's my first time going there, so I'm looking forward to that.
It's a unique field. If you can get there early Friday and do a field walk, I highly recommend it. It's a very unique field with how long it is and how narrow it is, and I'm excited to see the updates that they've done to the field because I haven't been there in a couple of years since I think it was the last 0 hour was the last time I was there. So
yeah, it's gonna be. I know. I'm definitely gonna get there early Friday the most. I know some people are already going Thursday or Wednesday. I know some got Airbnbs, some got hotels, some camping out, Thursday or Friday. But I will definitely be there Friday afternoon.
All right, I'll see you up there then.
Steve Solo, you're the guy.
I try.
You're the guy, man. But I'm gonna let you go. I still got work to do. So I'm gonna get right back into it. But everybody, stay tuned for the next podcast coming up. Check my guy out as well. Show love and see you guys next time. Captain Prophet Wolf and Steve Solo Frosty out. Peace.